Question number 2, the Honourable Annette King.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question's to the Prime Minister. Is he satisfied with the advice he has received from his Chief Science Advisor, Professor Sir Peter Gluckman?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, I created the role of Chief Science Advisor to provide me with an independent channel of scientific advice. I'm pleased with the contribution Professor Sir Peter has made to the broad suite of information the government considers as it develops its policies.
The Honourable Annette King.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker. Does he agree with Sir Peter and his task force report that failure to use social science evidence properly is a core failing of policies, and that evidence and scientific advice is a good base for policy development?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, as a general rule, yes, but of course one would always acknowledge there's often quite a range of views actually from the science community.
The Honourable Annette King.
What evidence and scientific advice did he seek before agreeing to allocate $2.4 million to Parent Inc. for a parenting program that even the Minister of Social Development said she had neither sought nor received advice on? Or was she carrying out his promise that he made before the election that he would make sure that Parent Inc. got money?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, you'll accept as Prime Minister not responsible for the allocation of that contract. That actually goes through MSD. But what I would say, though, Mr Speaker, is I've actually seen that toolbox. I've seen the program. And what I can say is, in my opinion, it's a very, very successful program that's actually helping New Zealand parents, and we do need to help parents in New Zealand.
The Honourable Annette King.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker. As the contract with Parent Inc. is yet to be signed, is he prepared to require a tender for the $2.4 million for a parenting program now that other organisations have come forward to say that they have a similar program but they got no chance to bid for that money? If not, why not?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I think it's pretty wide of the primary question, but anyway, my advice is to well, I've never. I won't say that actually, Mr Speaker. My advice to the member is to take the matter up if she wants to with the Minister of Social Development. What I can say is my understanding is that there isn't anyone else that actually provides a similar program off the shelf like that that's so successful.
The Honourable Annette King.
Supplementary question. If evidence and scientific advice should be the basis for policy development, why is he ignoring the task force report and insisting on putting in even more money into boot camps, which they said are doing very little to help teenagers and need a thorough assessment?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I don't agree with the member's proposition. For a start, of the military activity camps, which the member talks of, the military activity camps actually have had the first cohort go through. There will be an evaluation. Actually, it's a little too early to evaluate them because they're still in the middle of their participation. But, Mr Speaker, I would draw the member to a letter I've just received on the 26th of May from the Principal Youth Court Judge, Andrew Beecroft. And what Judge Beecroft goes on to say, and I quote, is military activity camps a success. Cautiously, they could be expanded into 2 of the remaining 3 residences, Wiri and Palmerston North, which are located close to military training facilities. He also goes on to say about the number of fewer people going before the youth court. Mr Speaker, I would tend to take the view of Andrew Beecroft, who knows what he's talking about, as opposed to the member who hasn't got a clue what she's talking about.
Mr Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Annette King.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to table the comments of Sir Peter Gluckman. They weren't my comments I was using, I was using his.
Order. Now I say to the Honourable Parakura Horomia, what was it about that point of order raised by his colleague just 2 seats along from him that he didn't understand? Because there was no need for that interjection. And now what we need to sort out, though, is what is that order? No, the last part of the member's point of order was out of order. She was seeking leave and didn't need to make the other comments. What we did need to know, though, is what is the source of these comments she is seeking to table?
It is a press release,
Order,
Mr.
then
Speaker.
we do not table.
But
That's the end of them.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable
Mr. Speaker, I've just heard you make a ruling for the Prime Minister when he rose to accuse the Green member for misleading this House. and you said there was a proper place to bring this up.
Order. The member is now just getting into the same order and patch as everyone else. We do not table press statements, and if the member is concerned that someone has misled the House or other means of dealing with that, we don't debate it by way of point of order. I know we've had a 2-week recess, but we should not forget the standing orders of the House. We do not debate those matters by way of point of order. Point of order, the Honourable Trevor.
And I sort of note what you've just said, sir, but you have in your written rulings to us indicated that you will not proceed with breach of privilege applications. You will not refer them to the committee when they relate to supplementary questions as opposed to prepared answers. The Prime Minister accused Annette King of drafting something in a supplementary, and therefore it is not referable. Order. I'm not, there is a Standing Orders Committee and the member is a member of it, and if he believes there's need to amend the Standing Orders of the House, we can do that. It's not beyond our ability to do that. But the only reason why, if the issue raised earlier on today was about deliberately and willfully misleading the House. Supplementary questions, it's considered traditionally in this House, are not of such a formal situation to normally be considered to be intended to deliberately mislead the House. They can at times, I accept, accidentally mislead the House. And if there's a gap in our standing orders, there's the chance to deal with that. But we're certainly not going to debate these matters by way of point of order. Point of order, the Honourable Trevor. Mr. Speaker, in the past there have been occasions where something has been so egregious on a supplementary question that there have been, in my understanding, that there have been cases raised with the Privileges Committee. In this particular case, Mr. Speaker, it was just a straight matter of fact.
Order. The member is
now.
Prime Minister. Order. The member is now. The member is now seeking debate the matter by order. I'm on my feet, and we won't have any more of this. I'm certainly prepared to look back over the record to see how many times a supplementary question has been the subject of a matter referred to the Privileges Committee, but I think it goes back a fair way if that were to be the case. But I'll certainly check the record for the member. Question number 3, Amy Adams. I beg your pardon, supplementary question to Jacinda Ardern.
Supplementary to the Prime Minister. What was the reoffending rate of participants involved in the government's boot camp concept trials completed in 2009 and 2010?
Order. Before I invite the Right Honourable Prime Minister to reply, I just alert members that where there's such a broad primary question, to expect the Prime Minister to have at his fingertips the details of boot camp outcomes is... But I'll allow the question because the Prime Minister certainly mentioned these in his answer, so I'll allow the question, but to expect him to have the details is not easy. Right Honourable Prime Minister, insofar as he can answer the question.
Speaker, I don't have those details to hand, but what I do have to hand is a letter from Judge Andrew Beecroft, the Principal Youth Court Judge, where he actually sets out and says, subject to an inquiry I made when I was at a military activity camp about how things were going and appreciation of his assessment, more than happy to table it. What he actually goes on to talk about, though, Mr. Speaker, I think is very interesting. He says not only has youth apprehension rates have dropped slightly in the last 2 years, he says youth court numbers have been dropped by 31% in the last 2 years. He goes on to talk about Fresh Start and the impact of those military-type programs, says that they are working, goes on to say that they are broader than the basis to which the member is trying to say, and then goes on to say cautiously he wants to expand the program.
Question number 3, Amy Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance.
Point of order, the Honourable David Parker.
Ask that the Minister table the official document from which he was quoting.
Order. The member knows that a letter is not an official document and it's up to the Prime Minister whether he wishes to seek leave. Question number 3, Amy Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question is to the Minister of Finance.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
I just want to make it clear that the opposition, the Prime Minister can table without leave. He indicated that he would, and I wonder why he hasn't yet.
Order. Now, the member knows there's no standing order to provide for another member of the House to try and encourage someone else to table a document. If the Prime Minister was quoting from an official document, no question. But the Prime Minister was not quoting from an official document. And it's up to the Prime Minister whether he wishes... Point of order, the Honourable Trevor.
Well, Mr Speaker, I think one of our hearings might have been slightly wrong, sir. I thought in response to an interjection that the Prime Minister said he was happy to table the document.
Order, that is a matter for the Prime Minister, is not a matter for other members. Question number 3, Amy Adams. Point of order, the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to table a letter from Judge Beecroft in relation to, amongst other things, the Youth Justice, where he goes on to personally thank me for my clear leadership provided to the youth sector.
Order. I say to the Right Honourable Prime Minister, I'm on my feet and that nonsense will stop, because that was an abuse of the standing order procedure also. Now, I've allowed abuses on both sides now, and my patience will run out shortly, but leave has been sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Speaker, this is just a request that you look at the tapes later of the way that you intervened on Russell Norman and the way that you intervened on the leader of the National Party.
I'll look at the tapes, and I've made it very clear that I was not happy with the Right Honourable Prime Minister's behaviour then, and he knows that I'm watching him. Rest of question time.